together.
Thanks for staying with us. In a move that has sparked street protests by the opposition and diplomatic tension, Mexico is set to become the world's only country to allow voters to choose all judges at every level starting next year. A statement says 8 of 11 Supreme Court justices, including the president of the court, Loma Pena, decided not to seek election in June 2025, adding that most of the resignations would take effect next August. The announcement comes as the Supreme Court prepares to consider a proposal to invalidate the election of judges and magistrates. President Claudia Sheinbaum says the court lacks the authority to reverse a constitutional reform approved by Congress. Let's turn our attention to Spain, where residents have been criticizing local authorities over the response to the catastrophic flooding in the badly devastated city of Valencia. Spain's prime minister has ordered 5,000 more troops and 5,000 police officers and civil guards to that region of the country to prove support. They are to join about 1,700 soldiers already working on search and rescue operations in the Valencia region. President Pedro Sanchez announced that the death toll on Saturday rose to 211 people, with most fatalities in and around Valencia. The toll is expected to rise further. And Serbia's Minister of Interior, Vika Dacic, says the death toll from the collapse of a railway station's canopy has risen to 13 persons. He adds that 3 people are in life-threatening conditions at the clinical center, and the death toll might be higher as 80 rescue workers are still clearing the debris, trying to dig the people out. The Serbian Minister of Infrastructure has pledged those responsible for the accidents were fished and brought to account because the canopy was not reconstructed when the railway station was being renewed. The railway station building was renovated in 2021. Then again, several months later, July this year, it was opened after renovation again. We'll begin with some cheering news from the World Health Organization, which says almost 1 million doses of Mpox vaccines have been allocated to 9 countries in Africa. The Director General of the WHO, Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus, says this allocation of at least 900,000 doses of vaccines is based on public health need in countries with significant transmission of the new variant. According to the Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, Mpox cases were showing a 500% increase from last year, now impacting 19 countries. The doctor adds that so far, more than 50,000 people have been vaccinated against Mpox in the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Rwanda, thanks to donations from the United States and the European Commission. The government of Mauritius has banned access to social media websites ahead of the country's parliamentary elections scheduled for the 10th of November. The directive was announced by the National Communications Regulator, which says social media sites will be banned until the 11th of November, the day after the election. The unprecedented social media ban follows a wiretapping scandal which rocked the country last month, when recorded conversations of politicians, owners of business and members of civil society were leaked on social media. According to the Media Freedom Advocacy Group, Reporters Without Borders, the recorded conversations of 5 well-known journalists were also published on social media. The government of the country, which has a population of 1.2 million people, claims the leaks are a threat to national security. In Bolivia, the country's armed forces say an armed group has taken control of a military post in central axis of the country. According to the Bolivian military statement, the armed group kidnapped military personnel, seized weapons and ammunition from the base situated near the city of Cochabamba. Bolivian President Luis Arce says the armed group is affiliated with former President Evo Morales, but he did not offer evidence for the claim. The armed forces say the group must leave the barracks immediately and peacefully, emphasizing that the actions would be considered treason to the country. And finally, on the news, the spread of conflict coupled with climate and economic stresses is pushing millions to the brink as acute food insecurity increases in severity across 22 countries and territories. This is according to a report, Hunger Hotspots, by the Food and Agriculture Organization and the World Food Programme. We have a report.
In total, 22 countries are classified as hunger hotspots, where high levels of acute food insecurity are expected to further deteriorate during the outlook period. According to the report, Palestine, the Sudan, South Sudan, Haiti, and Mali remain at the highest alert level and require the most urgent attention. Conflict is the primary driver of hunger in all these areas. The report draws attention to famine in the Zamzam camp in North Darfur and famine risk in other areas of Sudan, the enduring risk of famine in the Gaza Strip, and the catastrophic level of acute food insecurity in Haiti and South Sudan. Deputy Director of the FAO's Office of Emergencies and Resilience, Maxwell Simhensana, says that conflict and armed violence in North Darfur and Gaza have severely impacted rural livelihoods.
We also see the risk of famine in Palestine, particularly the Gaza Strip, and the drivers largely are linked to the conflict as well as armed violence that has resulted in displacement of populations. And when we look at the impact of displacement, but also the impact on food systems.
The report spotlights the regional fallout from the crisis in Gaza, which has seen Lebanon engulfed in conflict, and warns that the La Nina weather pattern risks affecting climate through March 2025, threatening fragile food systems in already vulnerable regions. Without immediate intervention, including increasing funding for food and livelihood assistance, hundreds of thousands more are expected to face starvation in the coming months.
In areas where conflict is the major driver of the food insecurity and the humanitarian need, FAO calls for unimpeded access to the population that has been affected, and that humanitarian actors can be facilitated to reach these populations as quickly as possible.
The effects of the La Nina weather patterns are expected to further exacerbate some of the food crisis, according to the report. While some areas may benefit from improved agricultural conditions, La Nina is likely to cause devastating floods in countries such as Nigeria and South Sudan, while potentially contributing to dry conditions in Somalia, Kenya, and Ethiopia. The report stresses that early targeted action is essential to prevent further deterioration of the crisis and avert mass hunger-related mortality. FAO and WFP are urging world leaders to prioritize conflict resolution, economic support, and climate adaptation measures to protect the most vulnerable populations from the brink of famine. The Hunger Hotspot report identifies areas where acute food insecurity is likely to increase during the outlook period. The hotspots are determined through forward-looking analysis and selected through a consensus-based process involving FAO and WFP field and technical teams, alongside analysts specialized in conflict, economic risks, and natural hazards.
That's TVC News this hour. For more updates on the stories we're monitoring, you can visit our website, www.tvcnews.tv. You can also follow us on our social media handles, Facebook, Instagram, and on X at TVC News NG. On YouTube, we are live at TVC News Nigeria. Thanks for watching.